Hi, Blastpop here. Today I'm taking a look at Red Storm, the air war over central Germany, 1987, a game published by GMT Games and designed by Douglas Bush. The system design is by Lee Brimmicombe-Wood, which is used for the basis for the system for this game. This system was, as far as I can tell, first implemented in the GMT game Downtown, which was the air war over Vietnam, particularly the Linebacker series of missions in Rolling Thunder, and so on and so forth. In that game, the Americans were exclusively the bombing force, and the North Vietnamese Air Force was tasked with defending Hanoi and the valuable Haiphong Harbor and so on. And I played that game a fair bit, but it was one-sided. Each side had a particular role. Now, in Red Storm, you have the ability for both sides, depending on the scenario and situation, to engage in both offensive and defensive air operations. This game came out in 2019 and uses the downtown system with a lot of modifications and with a lot more advanced technology as compared to what was occurring in the 1960s, because this, in early 70s, as this occurs in posited in 1987, as it is an alternate history or a popular Cold War theme during those years that has found a resurgence in recent years. Notwithstanding, the system really works well, requires a fair amount of planning and execution, but once you get a couple missions under your belt, the system works pretty well. Because I've played Downtown over the years and consider that to be one of my desert island games, a game which I think is wonderful and it's historical and something that I really do like, and it's fairly compact because it essentially has one map and part of another if you have the expansion to it that came in C3I magazine some years ago. Anyway, to this game, this includes a traditional GMT approximately 2-inch box, and as you'll see, the game doesn't really have enough box space for all the components, especially once you punch out the die cut counters and try to sort and store them. You'll need probably some exterior storage solution. Here you'll see a very much reduced copy of the map. This is a 2-map um, design, and to play the full game, it does take a fair amount of space, not only for the map, but for the components, charts, and tables, and everything else to keep yourself organized and moving along. Also included are the flights and in the air units that are included in the game, a picture of that. There are some actual solitaire rules, and although the solitaire suitability is medium high, there are actual solitaire rules, but it does require the ability to um, have knowledge of the basic rules and then be able to add to that the solitaire rules to be fully engaged. Um, it's for 1 to 2 players, 1 minute per turn, and included is 5 mounted counter sheets, 222 by 34 maps, 3 aircraft data cards, 5 player aid cards, appendix booklet, rules book, scenario book, log sheets, and 2d10. Also included are the 2d10 and some baggies, which will help, but is not really the storage solution for this game. Here's your rule book, 60 pages, including cover and back cover credits. Nicely illustrated, shows you how things are done in the game. I'm not going to go through page by page because, as you can imagine, air combat is fairly extensive, but to give you a sense of what's included, you've got air operations, detections, air-to-air combat, air unit damage, post-combat procedures, anti-aircraft artillery, SAMs and radars, air-to-ground ordnance, air-to-ground attacks, ground target damage, electronic countermeasures, fuel and recovery, random events, weather, night, recon missions, helicopters, CSAR, Army ground units, airfields, the front, victory conditions, setup, victory, solitaire rules, campaign games, and your final rules index. It's a matte finish. Again, everything's nicely illustrated. The system actually does play smoothly, as I can attest to from downtown. It's just that there's a lot to digest, but it's fairly logical and works well. Fairly dense rules, although it is broken up with illustrations here and there. You've got your scenario book, which there's an awful lot of them. And you got solo introductory scenarios to help you learn and not go into the deep end of the game learning pool. And then even the scenarios differ because you roll for a lot of like the Air Force is available and the conditions. And so there is some variability even within a scenario to be different. As you can see, there's quite a few scenarios. Are up to 26 here, 29, 30, the final countdown. Solitaire. And the solitaire ones do have enough variability that, again, they will play differently from playing to playing. You have your appendices book, which are air battle, airfields, command unit locations, examples of play. So this gives you a lot of the information that would appear in the scenarios for orders of battle. So it gives you important appendix data. Examples of play, fairly extensive, which is good. So that if you have a question, it's almost like asking the designer. Bibliography. All kinds of player aid cards. And this is the challenge with this game, is keeping yourself organized with all the various charts and tables. Very nicely illustrated, but there's a fair number of them. This is another hobby in the box in terms of the amount of material and components and available scenarios. You could play this for a long time and never touch all the possibilities. Now, air units fly on the map, and you have the charts for the various nationalities, Federal Republic of Germany, the UK, and it tells you what the units do, because all the information is not on the counters. So these are handy to have as a quick reference. Now, if you only have a couple different aircraft available, there are online or were available some cards which you can purchase separately from a third party that will give you the information on single cards for a few aircraft types, so you don't have to fumble through charts if that's not your thing. So you have your Soviet data card, your type of plane, your cruise, the fuel, the bombs, various capabilities, notes, weapons, German Democratic Republic, and then some information about the aircraft themselves. Belgium, Canada, and Netherlands. You got a couple flight data logs and SAM anti-aircraft logs recording your information. Two-sided, different information. Planning your campaign. While probably adequate to start, you may want to make more copies of these data sheets. Here's a copy of the map for your planning, especially if you're defending and you're planning your AA or your mission where you're actually flying. You can mark your various points that you're traveling. Counter sheets. Okay, this is a half-size counter sheet 5. Soviet, East German, I believe, as well. Just counters are just popping out. And while I have that here, relatively thick, and these are the brown core. Counter sheet 2. Various markers and ground forces anti-aircraft. Please feel free to pause the video. Very well die cut. Hidden information on the back side so that you can hide what's on the front side. And then finally the last counter sheet. A lot of system markers as well. As to the maps, you can see cities, roads, hills of various heights, airfields, west and east, Soviet Union and NATO. Very typical of GMT style maps. Very neat, clean, clear, understandable, laid back, if you will. And there's two maps, and make some room here. Try to give you an overview. These are 22 by 34 inch maps. first map. Second map has a little more clear terrain or less elevation than the first map. A lot of city. And then you got the Rhine River. So that gives you a sense of what's maps look like. I also understand that there's an expansion planned for this as well. A lot in the package. This has been Blastpop. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Bye.